Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. Okay, so today we're here with the 2025 horoscope for Libra. Now, before we do dive in, please make sure to give this video a like if you do find the information presented to be useful. And if you would like to book a reading with me, then you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. There you can also find the astrology products I offer. Okay, so I just want to go over this part to do with reading for your sun, moon, or rising. Just some information here. If you've got a Libra rising, all right, so Libra is on the rising in your chart. This video is going to be more specifically related to you, right? You're going to find it to be more relatable. However, I do recommend watching if the sun is in Libra in your chart or the moon is in Libra. And a big part of that would be dependent on whether you have a day chart, thinking about the sun there, or night chart, so looking more towards the moon. So if the sun is in Libra and you've got a day chart, you may find the information to be rather relatable as well. And if the moon is in Libra and you've got a night chart, then same thing, okay? But do keep in mind that when it comes to the sun and moon, well, the sun is about our soul's purpose. It's more of that conscious awareness or the conscious part of ourselves, whereas the moon is more about our unconscious. It's more about our emotions there. Okay. So with that being explained, Happy New Year to all of you Libras out there. Happy New Year. We're coming into 2025, such a huge transitional year. Now, the thing about this, however, is it's not the beginning of the astrological new year. So look here, for you Libra, when we enter 2025, the sun is in your fourth, okay? So it's in Capricorn. We enter 2025 during Capricorn season. So as we come into the new year for you, there's more of this focus on that of your family life, getting things in order there, the responsibilities and duties you have within your home. And there's more of this discipline and this seriousness with related to family matters, okay? But you see, when we come to the astrological new year, which will begin from Aries season, the sun will be in your seventh. So that will be more about the other, right? There's more of a focus on your relationships, the other one-to-one partnerships. Business is also very much highlighted there. But coming at things, approaching these areas by being rather independent and forthright and being a bit of a pioneer. So I just wanted to highlight there the purpose of, well, the importance rather of following the sun. That's why the sun is in each sign, really just highlighting the seasons. So we start during Capricorn season, and then the astrological new year will welcome Aries season. So, January. What does January have in store for you, Libra? Well, we come into 2025 and Mars is retrograde. Mars will be retrograde in your 11th house in the sign of Leo. So we kickstart the new year in a way where you're going to be revisiting old patterns, old themes, old experiences with relation to how you show up within friendships, groups, and teams. We're thinking here about you being a bit of a leader, quite a passionate person, a pretty enthusiastic person, very eager when it comes to these very areas. So you'll have this opportunity to rethink, okay, well, what about my willpower? What about my drive? What about my energy levels? What about my goals? So you could very well revisit sort of older goals there. You could also re-examine anger. Anything angry that comes up, anything about getting what you want, survival, things of that nature when it comes to Mars. It can be a bit of a challenging part of the astrology with Mars, but through that challenge, you can grow. So we're going to see here you being able to take a step back and to reassess potential leadership challenges within group dynamics, group participations, Libra. So there's a lot to learn there. And then by the 6th of January, so just to confirm, Mars retrograde in Leo is from the 6th of December 2024 until the 6th of January 2025. Then we come into the 6th of January, and on the 6th of January, Mars retrograde enters your 10th house. So what we're going to see from the 6th of January until the 23rd of February for you will be that of, okay, it's time to rethink and to revise that of your professional lives. To think about, okay, how do I feel within this role, within this position? How do I feel about this role or this position? Yes, this could be a professional matter. This could be about your career, but this could also be about purpose overall. Okay. We just think about your societal position here with the 10th house and with Cancer there in the 10th Libra. The sort of person that you are striving to become and the person that you tend to become known for is that of being quite the caregiver, quite the nurturer. Naturally, this could show up in different areas, whether this be an institution, a company, an organization, or even just literally being a caregiver within the very home that you reside in, okay? But Mars retrograde is your opportunity, Libra, for you to go over certain goals, how you feel, your energy levels, your drive, and your willpower, so on and so forth. All right, so on the 11th of January, the nodes are changing. So this, I feel, is going to be a pretty significant one for you, Libra, because the South Node has been hanging out in your sign since July of 2023. So for the past 18 months or so, a lot has been happening for you with respect to how you show up as an individual, thinking about your identity, versus how you approach relationships, how you assert yourself within relationships. Okay, because the North Node is in the opposite sign, in the 7th, in Aries. Now, at the same time, Chiron has been, Chiron is in your 7th. It has been there for a number of years. It will continue to be there throughout 2025. Okay, so Chiron's in your 7th, just highlighting here potential wounds, rejections, and fears with respect to relationships and partnerships. I think here, many Libras, you have been called to action. You've been called to be brave and to be courageous when it comes to facing your shadow. And here's the thing about it. I have put down here that 2025 is going to be the year of you facing your shadow. You've already been doing this, but with Saturn and Neptune also going to come into your 7th throughout 2025 for a bit of a taster. They will officially enter 2026 for their full transits, but this is where we're really going to see things be more refined. We're going to see things be a bit more structured, but also we're going to see greater integration. We're going to see things unfold in pretty remarkable, inspirational, and perhaps mysterious ways too. There's something about that dissolving quality with Neptune as well. But still, to highlight here, Chiron in the 7th has been largely about you coming to terms with your shadow and anything that's achy or painful or challenging to confront, challenging to face. And it's often this part of the chart in the 7th where it's almost like other people mirror back to you or to us. I suppose everybody has a seventh house, but it's others that mirror back certain qualities and attributes that we tend to reject or not want to face. So I think a big part of what has been reflected back at you over the past number of years is that of, okay, what about bravery? What about being daring, taking risks, being a leader, being a trailblazer, a pioneer, etc. And at the same time, with the South Node being in your sign, Libra, all of this is also about balance and harmony and trying to find the middle ground, right? Trying to find some sort of common place, trying to figure out, okay, How can I weigh out my options? What is being presented to me? And how can I be diplomatic within such situations and cases? But you see, here's the interesting thing. And I feel like this also emphasizes this shadow quality to 2025 for you, Libra. But the South Node is going to move into your 12th and then the North Node into your 6th. So with the South Node in Virgo in the 12th, I feel like 2025 is going to be such a year where you're going to be able to address anything that you're worried about, stressed about, freaking out about, anything that you pick apart, even perhaps specifically more so on a subconscious level within yourself. What keeps you up at night? What are you losing sleep over? So, and also I would say the part of the self that tends to jump in to want to fix, okay, to be the fixer, to be the helper. So I think there's going to be a lot of sort of symbolism and synchronicities that will come up for you that will sort of like activate these parts of yourself or get you to go, oh, hold on, that's interesting. Why am I doing that? And then at the same time, with the North Node in the 6th, in Pisces, this could also invite a year, a transition where you're going to look to your daily tasks and responsibilities from a more fluid, adaptable, flexible place. Maybe, hey, for many Libras out there, this could also be about plenty of rest, right? Plenty of rest. Being able to step back, to take care of yourself, could be self-care. That's really very much highlighted as well. And this is somewhat similar to the conversation that I had with Taurus about 2025, about a lot of self-care. And maybe for you then there is greater priority there too, right? And perhaps a part of it as well is being able to know what your boundaries and know what your limitations are. And it's about health. This is more so about health and trying to also consider what is not your responsibility. What isn't your responsibility? Who you're not responsible for? But equally, how can you address the things that you are responsible for, but in a more holistic, healthy way? Okay. And that's quite interesting because, Saturn and Neptune have been in your 6th house. Neptune for much longer, Saturn for, since March 2023. So already you've been sensing or sort of feeling into these kinds of things. But the North Node will be like this destiny, okay? It will be about a calling to embrace these parts, okay? To embrace that of going with the flow when it comes to your everyday routines and habits. And then what we do is we come to the end of January, and on the 30th of January, we've got Uranus turning direct in your 8th. So the Uranus retrograde being from the 1st of September until the 30th of January there. So with Uranus being retrograde in your 8th, of course, Uranus retrograde is a time of reflection. Okay, it's a time whenever we are able to slow down and to maybe address certain older patterns, older habits, and how we can break free. There's something here about challenging the status quo, doing things differently, but also it can be a pretty enlightening time during Uranus retrograde. There can be much insight, intuitive hits, okay? Certain breakthroughs can happen. So for you, think about these sort of qualities, these shakeups, the unexpected innovation with relation to the likes of paying off debt, the likes of your partner's money, how they manage their money. This could also be about intimacy, emotional bonding and closeness. Trust could also be a big part of this. So indeed, with Uranus turning direct on the 30th of January, maybe you can then move forward with some lessons, okay? And you can integrate those lessons, hopefully slowly, steadily there, in a more grounded way, in a more practical way, due to how Uranus is in Taurus. Then we come to February. Okay, the first thing to highlight with February is how Jupiter will turn direct in your 9th house of higher education. your worldviews, your beliefs, and long distance travel. So the Jupiter retrograde in Gemini is from the 9th of October until the 4th of February. So essentially, with Jupiter retrograde, it's just an opportunity to reassess your beliefs, to reassess how aligned you are with your code of ethics, and I would say your teachings, especially thinking about your teachings on a sort of how your teachings are broadcasted, basically, how they are published, how you reach wider audiences, and how your beliefs and your teachings somehow relate to larger networks. So a lot of this, I feel, is about communication. It's about thought. It's about learning. Being a bit of a student during the Jupiter retrograde, where you can reevaluate, you can reflect your personal growth. Okay, thinking about, right, what have I been learning here when it comes to something educational, when it comes to furthering myself. We think about further self-exploration with the 9th house. We think about adventures, going on trips, cultural experiences, opening your mind, really expanding your horizons with Jupiter in the 9th. So Jupiter retrograde has been your opportunity to maybe focus more on, okay, well, what have I been learning and how does it align with my inner world? And how can I speak from a place of honesty and the knowledge that I know and what is true for me, basically, right? So much about truth and how you communicate that truth, how you broadcast it. So indeed, with Jupiter turning direct on the 4th of February, hopefully then you can move forward with some greater insight or greater awareness, greater clarity with respect to such areas. But it's also then partly about, okay, some blessings and talents and gifts and how you've been inspired. I think about, for instance, if it is that you've wanted to further yourself intellectually when it comes to some kind of higher education area, Jupiter in Gemini has been really quite remarkable for you in that you've been open to change, you've been flexible, you've been adaptable. You've been indeed very curious about switching things up, and maybe as well a big focus on that of gathering together with others and engaging in really interesting conversations. Just a lot of learning, and that can be rather exciting. A lot of mental stimulation, Libra. Moving on then to Mars direct. So Mars is going to turn direct on the 23rd of February. So you will have the opportunity then to move forward with the lessons of Mars retrograde. So as a reminder, the Mars retrograde is from the 6th of December until the 23rd of February. So take the time to integrate whatever came up, whatever sort of goals you re-examined, how you might have taken a closer look at your energy levels in terms of how you show up within your professional lives. We think about it as well, your willpower and drive related to your sense of purpose, related to the person that you're sort of striving to become there, your reputation, who you become known for. So yes, take some time to just integrate the lessons, and do remember to use the post-shadow period to your advantage, because from the 23rd of February until the 2nd of May, that will be the post-shadow period of Mars. So that's just basically your opportunity to mull things over, sit with things. You can make tweaks and changes as well. Indeed, integration, Libra. Okay, so now moving on to March, and March is going to be a pretty active month. So I've just put a quick little calendar. We have Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde. Venus being your ruler, by the way, Libra. And we also have Neptune entering Aries, plus eclipse season happens throughout March. So we're going to break this down Firstly, let's draw our focus to Venus. Venus, like I said, is your ruler, and Venus retrograde will be from the 1st of March until the 12th of April. So to give you dates here, Venus retrograde will happen in your 7th house in Aries, Libra, from the 1st of March until the 27th of March. And then on the 27th of March, it will enter your 6th house in Pisces until the 12th of April. Okay, so with the Venus retrograde in your 7th from the 1st of March until the 27th of March, you will have an opportunity to revisit and re-examine older themes with relation to your relationships, okay? Certain events, when we think about the past events here, reoccurring themes, reoccurring patterns maybe that have happened as well. So yes, thinking about these things related to partnerships, one-to-one dynamics there. So there could be a few things that keep coming back up, keep repeating themselves, and maybe in some sort of subconscious way, Venus retrograde in your 7th will be pulling you, tugging you to take a look, okay? Take a closer look at this. Why does this keep happening? What is the reoccurring pattern? What is the reoccurring theme here? It's just really important then to slow it down a bit, okay? To slow it down, to maybe gain greater clarity, to maybe as well remember that you can ask for support, or you can come together with a partner or with a friend or whoever, as a way to maybe gain feedback. Okay, so with the 7th house, there is something about feedback, and there is that relational piece, the relationship piece, especially with Venus. Naturally, with Venus being in Aries, such relationship patterns and themes could have something to do with anger, passion, sex, possibly. Could also be about romance. Could be something related to partnership goals, for instance. So you will have an opportunity then to just analyze and to look over relationship patterns. And then you can also maybe look to relationships from a different place of meaning. And because you have performed that reflective, the ability to reflect basically. But then that would also suggest that there could be some hiccups or delays too. Delays could very well occur when it comes to relationships, maybe especially when it comes to contracts and agreements, just certain contracts with relation to business, essentially. So do keep that in mind. And then when we come to here, and just another thing, just quickly, this stuff could also be related to your aims, your goals, your life path, because as I say, Venus is your ruler. And maybe this stuff is also somehow tied to debt or shared resources, some kind of payment plan. It could be specifically you joining together with someone else. So it could be related to business. It could be related to your marriage, your spouse there, because Venus also rules your 8th. So financial things could also be a part of this. Of course, Venus does rule finances. But then, as I say, with Venus then being retrograde and coming into Pisces, which will be from the 27th of March until the 12th of April, well, this part of the retrograde will be more focused on that of your health. Okay, so more things here to do with your health, more things here to do with your day-to-day practices and rituals there, your daily habits, and coming at them, I think, from a place of value and creativity, unity, beauty. And on that note, right, when we go back to that 7th house place, yes, as I was saying previously, a lot of like the 7th house is facing the shadow, working with the subconscious and how things can be reflected back at us through others. So it could be that there is some recurring pattern that comes up that's reflected back at you with relation to your own self-worth with relation to your values, or your financial position. So indeed, it's just a way for you to maybe analyze and to re-examine these areas. And then you can learn a lot about yourself, I think, too, perhaps from your ability to address these matters from a place of, okay, well, how does all of this feel? Maybe even this is something about your body, especially when Venus goes into the sixth, right? The Venus retrograde in the sixth, there could be more bodily themes that come up. We think about here, again, health related matters, areas, and perhaps a part of it involves medications or hospital appointments, doctor's appointments, things like that. So yes, maybe there will just be more of a focus on that, of taking care of your body or having to revisit older bodily matters. Okay, so for instance, we'll just say one example here. So if, say, for example, Libra, there is a health theme, right? There's something about your health that keeps coming up time and time again. The Venus retrograde coming into Pisces in the sixth could be your opportunity to maybe re-examine or re-explore those areas, maybe from a place of being a bit more spiritual or intuitive, or maybe seeking some kind of help from a more holistic view, perhaps. Or we'll say another example, maybe it's to do with spiritual practices, a spiritual routine there. And so you've been considering it, you've been thinking, oh, I really want to try yoga, or I want to try this plan, this exercise routine, this schedule. But Venus retrograde, especially because, again, Venus is your ruler, Venus retrograde coming into the sixth could be that time where you finally sort of think about, oh, okay, well, I can see how things can be adjusted and how I might get a feel for this schedule or this routine. Okay. So with Venus retrograde being explored a little bit, of course, do remember that there is the bigger picture. We always want to think about what all of the other planets are doing, but we're just breaking this down. This is just an overview. But Mercury, okay, so Mercury retrograde will also happen in Aries and Pisces. So Mercury retrograde starts from the 15th of March until the 7th of April in these signs. So from the 15th of March until the 29th of March, Mercury retrograde will be in the 7th. So remember this in combination with Venus. So as Venus is there, Venus could, of course, be more about your body. It could be more about what you value, love, your finances. But then Mercury is more about your communication, your thoughts. It's more about your mind, your intellect. So, and also things like writing and information getting to you, right? So we could see as well, in combination with the other stuff I just mentioned, it's more about, okay, well, what do I think about all of this? What is it about my mindset? Reframing the mind, perhaps, or it could be about greater reflection, greater insight, really valuable insights that can come up. And once more, we see here looking over older cases, older instances, okay, revisiting past experiences, past events, and ideas. So those things could come up, and maybe as well, a part of it is related to education, some sort of practice. Maybe this could be especially about a business matter, right? Because Mercury does rule your ninth, and Mercury also rules your 12th. So if it is, for instance, that there's more of this student-like quality to you, where you want to learn and you want to teach, you want to maybe gain more knowledge there on how to deliver information more effectively. Well, Mercury retrograde in the 7th here throughout March could be your way of, okay, how can I revisit how I actually communicate what I've been learning on a more one-to-one level, right? It could be about partnership, their business partnerships, clients, customers, things like that. Then Mercury retrograde will come into Pisces from the 29th of March until the 7th of April. And so this could also be where the things to do with your routines, your daily habits, and more of that fluidity that you're maybe wanting to welcome and invite, more of those spiritual principles you're wanting to welcome and invite there. Well, those things are also going to have more of this intellectual quality where you might want to deeply reflect upon, okay, symbolically, what is all of this about? Maybe this is about mythology, astrology, tarot, some kind of just spiritual guidance there. Or it could be about art, creativity, having a vision, having a dream. Therefore, Libra, what you can do is you can use Mercury retrograde to your advantage to re-examine these thoughts. See if you arrive to new conclusions, see what other meanings and messages come up. We think about signs and symbolism when it comes to Pisces. So how these matters show up more on a day-to-day basis for you. All right, let's explore the eclipse season throughout March. Firstly, there will be that lunar eclipse in your 12th on the 14th of March. So the lunar eclipse in Virgo will be kind of like an opening, but it's also a way for you to clear space, for you to shift things. A lot of releasing can happen. So you could very well, for instance, release that of, okay, well, what is holding me back from feeling more at ease, more at peace within myself? How can I maybe look to any phobias or fears, any maybe neurotic ways of showing up there? Times whenever I excessively worry there, how I keep myself up at night because of worry, sleeping habits. I feel like a lot of what 2025 has in store for you, Libra, is that of a big focus on health, honestly. And it's making me second guess the title here. I'm like, the year of facing your shadow, but could we also look at it as the year of you really paying great focus, great attention to your health? I guess it's a mix of two. There's just a lot happening within the Aries and Pisces sectors of the chart. Everybody's Pisces house, everybody's Aries house is going to be activated strongly. So there is certainly this transitional period happening. But yeah, so moving on then to the solar eclipse in Aries, which will happen on the 7th my mistake. It's happening in your 7th. It's happening on the 29th of March. So keep in mind that this will also be happening very close to Venus and Mercury retrograde. So the solar eclipse in your 7th is a notable change, a notable new chapter to do with relationships and partnerships. Maybe in some ways here, seeing things with a fresh set of eyes, but also remember that this within itself is a bit of a closing, because this will be the final eclipse that happens in your 7th. When we think about how eclipses have been happening in your 7th and 1st houses over the past couple of years. So indeed, this is another banger, so to speak. It's another insightful period. It's an opportunity to see what no longer maybe serves you, what you can address within yourself when it comes to the shadow there. We just can see you stepping into this new chapter, these notable changes here to do with partnerships and how you show up within those partnerships as this pioneer, as someone who is brave and who is able to assert yourself, to be this initiator in a way where it's not so dependent on other people. Okay, I think the North Node in Aries, along with Chiron there in your 7th, has been teaching you a lot about how to be somewhat independent and maybe coming away from any people-pleasing, codependent tendencies there. Naturally, it is also about balance. It is also about give and take. But this is where we're seeing with Aries just that push, that assertiveness, going after what you want there. And then we come to Neptune. So Neptune is going to enter the 7th on the 30th of March. So the 30th of March, Neptune enters Aries in your 7th. And Neptune, what I want you to remember when it comes to Neptune is this planet of fascination, fantasy. It's a planet of vision. It's a very dreamy planet. These are the kinds of things that Neptune represents. So what we could see for you is the ability for you to tap into that of fantasy when it comes to relationships. I think about role plays when it comes to Neptune, for instance. But I also think about coming from a place of being compassionate and forgiving and kind, being able to actually let our guard down a little bit and to soften a little bit and to approach things from a more empathetic, calming, soothing way. Now, Neptune coming into Aries could be where such matters feel a bit more active or a bit more aggressive or a bit more fiery and energetic. Then again, this could also be where there's a blend, right? There's a bit of a blend when it comes to these qualities within your relationships. And so as Neptune comes into the 7th house, we could see you being like this spiritual warrior within your partnerships, or we could see this as you being quite an inspirational leader or a compassionate leader, or we could see this as you coming into your relationships with a vision or being freeing, being quite dreamy, but in this enthusiastic, passionate, active way. And we could also see then your very one-to-one partnerships taking on this quality of being idealistic and quite mysterious, quite spiritual. There's something about them that might feel a bit untouched or difficult to fully grasp or catch. But maybe that will be a part of the excitement, right? There could be some new spiritual adventure, something quite uh, mysterious, basically, about the next step forward. Perhaps this is about, in some way, getting to know the other in this in this adventurous way, but sort of taking you on a whole new journey of self-discovery, because there's this dissolving of boundaries in some respects, or maybe this is about, in some sense, redefining what your identity is within your relationships. And I think there's an element of that can be quite exciting and accelerating. And maybe this is also where, I was highlighting this year of you truly facing your shadow. I think with Neptune especially, Neptune is the unconscious. It's the collective unconscious especially. So it's very symbolic. It's very much about synchronicities and symbolism. You are taken on this very spiritual journey through Neptune. And so with Neptune being in the sign opposite you, if I feel like you will be presented with all these different facets of yourself, this mirroring effect could very well happen. Naturally, just be cautious of losing yourself in the other with Neptune. Take it from me, someone who has a Virgo rising. Neptune has been hanging out in my 7th for many years. And I can see that part of myself and how I often would have dissolved my own boundaries within my partnerships. Now, maybe because Neptune is in Aries, this could be a whole different thing, a whole different energy we're working with. Maybe Neptune being in Aries, it's going to be a bit more, basically, it's not going to be as passive. It's not going to be as submissive. I think it's going to be a bit more lively, a bit more direct in some respects. Plus, Saturn will also come into the 7th, and we'll talk about Saturn in a moment, but Saturn will come into the 7th and join up with Neptune, adding this structure, adding some form of responsibility, definition. Okay, it'll then this boundary, these boundaries that can be present too. Okay, so like I said, we will touch on Saturn in a moment, but firstly, we want to talk about April. So April, we see Mercury direct on the 7th of April, and then we have Venus direct on the 12th of April, right? So let's just touch on Mercury first. Mercury direct, we want to think about the post-shadow period. So from the 7th of April until the 26th of April, just take your time, Libra, to mull things over, to sit with whatever came up during the retrograde, and to go, right, okay, well, what did I learn? What did I learn about my routines and my daily habits? What did I learn about my relationships and partnerships and how I show up there, facing my shadow, being brave, etc.? What did I learn? So you can take your time then up until the 26th of April and to mull things over. And then we come to Venus. Venus direct from the 12th of April, and the post-shadow period will be from the 12th of April until the 16th of May. So take that time period, so that's about a month or so, to mull things over. But the Venus part of it, it's more about how you feel on a sensational level, right? How your body feels, but also I feel like a part of it is related to the values, right? What is valuable, what is worthy, and as well, financially, how are you doing after it? Financially, on a relationship level, how are you doing after the retrogrades? And then again, we want to consider Venus retrograde, and how Venus retrograde is more showing up within that of your routines, habits, and your partnerships. So if it is, for instance, that there is some kind of health related issue that you explore, that you re-examine, and or maybe it's a spiritual practice, and it's, again, that spiritual practice is more about paying attention to your body. And hey, you know what, Mercury is also about the nervous system, so there could be something there about the nervous system with Mercury turning direct, something about being calm and your stress levels, your productivity levels, all that stuff. So yeah, if there is something that comes up, just again, take some time, mull things over. Okay. So May, we come into May, and we're going to explore Saturn in a moment, but here's the thing about May. Pluto will turn retrograde on the 4th of May until the 13th of October. So with Pluto being in your 5th, which, by the way, Pluto will be in your 5th from the 19th of November all the way up here, well, for the next 20 years, basically. But this is the first sort of round, I suppose, of Pluto being fully in Aquarius. So your 5th house is being activated here, Libra. What does this mean? Well, what we're seeing here being ushered in for you is that of renewals and transformation with relation to that of, well, romance, love, sex. We think about play, fun, dating. We think about even spontaneity, childlikeness, the relationship that you have with your children as well, creativity, what you do during your spare time. With Pluto coming into this 5th house in Aquarius, this is your opportunity, Libra, to really reinvent yourself when it comes to these very areas. Okay, this is your opportunity to reinvent yourself, to push past certain barriers and boundaries when it comes to these areas, and to think outside of the box, okay? To come up with something original, to be mindful of how you entertain yourself. And, maybe this is about your individuality, your independence, your freedom, what brings you joy, what lights you up. And with Aquarius, yes, this This stuff could be quite unusual or unorthodox. Maybe there's something non-traditional about that of play and fun and romance and children. So Pluto then acts as this force, uh, this perhaps unconscious part of the self, right? Where there could be some fears or repressed emotions that come up, what is buried there. You can bring truth to light, you can bring the unconscious to light, and you can also come from a place of greater empowerment there when it comes to these areas. So, Pluto retrograde from the 4th of May until the 13th of October is your opportunity to go back in and think, right, okay, well, what have I learned so far? What came up for me? Which shadows have I faced over these past number of months? And maybe there's something I didn't quite catch the first time around, or maybe there's something about empowerment that I wasn't quite sure of before. How can I maybe go back into those areas? And how can I evolve, right? There's this depth, there's the ability to go within with Pluto, but then there's also the ability to come out from that and to evolve, to rise, to rise. But naturally, there is this sort of purging process, there's an elimination process. So we could look at the retrograde of Pluto being your opportunity to see, okay, well, what else is it that maybe is holding you back, or what's just not really doing it for you anymore there? Again, think about matters, areas related to that of romance, fun, children, creativity as examples. And then with Saturn, so Saturn will enter your 7th in Aries from the 24th of May. So the 24th of May until the 13th of July, we have Saturn direct in Aries in your 7th. So previously, we were talking about Neptune coming into the 7th. Saturn is going to join up with Neptune, and there's going to be an interesting conversation related to bringing form to our imagination. There's going to be an interesting conversation about bringing things that are more out of reach or spiritual or imaginative, so bringing those things into reality or into focus. So Saturn is more about discipline, responsibility, security, structure, compression, whereas Neptune is more about vision. It's quite a freeing, limitless planet. We can sort of drift. There is a blissfulness and an idealistic, enchanting quality, a beautiful quality to Neptune. So I want you to maybe think about how you can, on one hand, invite and welcome these more blissful, enchanting, idealistic qualities into your relationships, and you can take into account even how those qualities show up within yourself, and how those qualities can even be brought into relationships, and how they even may come out of or come through your partners, right? So we think about the other with the 7th, we think about the mirroring process, projection as well, those unconscious themes, the shadow being presented. But at the same time, maybe Saturn coming in can invite more of this, okay, seeing things for what they are, getting to the reality of a situation, being more aware of responsibility and not just drifting off into this other dimension, this other world, being very much rooted in the earth and grounded. So maybe this is where we're going to see greater commitment or duty, so to speak, greater hard work here, this building process, the structuring process when it comes to your relationships. And maybe a big part of this comes back to self, okay? Because Aries is about the self. So what I'm maybe getting from this actually, Libra, is a lot of what Neptune and Saturn are going to invite for you, what's going to be ushered in this new chapter, is that of, okay, owning your SH1T, so to speak, okay? Taking responsibility for your actions, being able to see what you bring into the relationship, but equally, what is it that you're not responsible for? What is not yours to keep, okay? Basically, I see this as a lot of honesty and realness, if you will, when it comes to your identity versus another's. And maybe even a part of it too is somehow going back to the transcendence of identity, something that you can let go of, something that is not your responsibility in some respects. Just which dynamics within your relationships are you not responsible for too? Okay. And do keep in mind that when I say relationships, this is not just about one-to-one romantic relationships or long-term committed. I'm also talking about business. I'm talking about friendships to a degree as well. Even think about it this way, Libra, a lot of healing has happened for you when it comes to these relationship dynamics with Chiron there. The North Node has been in your seventh too. So it's almost as if Neptune can come in and act as this spiritual guidance, but Saturn will come along and act as more of a seeing things for what they are situation and respecting yourself, being your own authority, if you will. Yes, a lot of interesting reoccurring themes and lessons to do with relationships. And yes, this could be from a place of I've already learned so much. I've already addressed so much within myself. I'm not going to repeat the same cycle anymore. But we could also possibly look at this as you growing in confidence, growing in your ability to be this initiator, right? To be forthright, to be direct within your partnerships. There could be some hardworking lessons here up ahead. Maybe this is where we're going to see great success for you, right? Real successful, committed business partnerships. And also think about it again in terms of clients and customers, who you want to work with, who you want to do business with. We're just going to see you learning a lot of interesting and hard lessons about such cases. And a big part of it will be about committing to yourself or committing to that partnership, that relationship. Certain contracts and agreements could be signed, but then again, remember with Neptune, just be cautious with Neptune. It can be quite a deceptive area of the chart, okay? We think about con artists, etc. So yes, just be cautious here. Maybe Saturn, right? Saturn is going to provide this patience, this cautiousness, which will be quite useful to you. So again, apply what I just said to a business setting. But one more thing I want to mention before we move on to June. I want you to remember and to note that on the 19th of February 2026, both Saturn and Neptune will conjunct at the same degree, ushering in a 35-year cycle within your seventh house. Okay, so we're going to see an interesting new cycle come up for you when it comes to this relationship area. And I'm sure we will talk more about that next year. Okay, so yes, I just wanted to highlight that. But just remember, Neptune and Saturn coming into Aries here throughout 2025 is still significant. There is still a new chapter being ushered in. You're still getting a big taste of what is to come, what to expect. So thinking about the next chapter when it comes to facing your shadow, when it comes to relationships there. Okay, so moving on to June. What is happening in June for you, Libra? Well, here's something pretty exciting. Jupiter enters Cancer on the 9th of June, coming into your 10th house for the next year. All right, so it will be about a year. Jupiter in Cancer in the 10th could very well invite some kind of expansion and growth to do with your professional lives. We could see this as you being quite successful. We could see this as you embracing new opportunities to do with your vocation. We could see this as you embracing that of your caretaking qualities, being known as that caretaker or being known as that intuitive, inspirational figure, as maybe coming across as this mother archetype, so to speak, amongst the public. We could also see this as you really following your moral compass, your inner guide when it comes to your purpose. And we could also see this as your self-beliefs being presented more publicly. So your worldviews, what you believe in, how you might share, how you might broadcast and publish there. So there could be a lot of insightful things that you share with audiences. Or we could also see this as you getting a promotion, or you just growing, basically growing within your role, within your position. A lot of interesting emotional growth, spiritual growth, and we also want to think about, in combination with this, how Jupiter does rule the 6th and the 3rd houses for you. So yeah, we could see this as a lot of work-related matters growing, and your message, your teachings, your visions being seen more so and appreciated. There could also be like a generosity, a lot of what you give out to the public. This could also be about your talents and your gifts being recognized, right? The 10th house is about recognition. It can be about success and achievement and accomplishment. So yes, you gaining a lot of success for your studies, for your research, and for the services you provide. And just something else quickly here, Libra, do keep in mind the Mars retrograde that happened in your 10th house at the beginning of the year. So the Mars retrograde is basically your opportunity to revisit your goals and your drive when it comes to your professional life. But then Jupiter coming in, this could be where, well, let's just put it this way, you fly, okay? There's an expansion of some kind. There is growth of some kind, prosperity, abundance, magnetism with Jupiter. Okay, so July, let's get into July. What is up ahead here for you, Libra? Well, retrograde, we have another retrograde. Neptune is going to turn retrograde from the 4th of July in your 7th until the 10th of December. Now, we will touch on Neptune coming into the 6th, but this first part of Neptune retrograde in the 7th, basically, well, it's just an opportunity for you to revisit, to re-examine your dreams, your aspirations, any illusions with relation to those partnership areas. It's also an opportunity to focus more on inner guidance, okay? Thinking about your intuition, considering your spiritual practices, just also here being mindful of self-compassion. Okay, so there is that more internalized view, essentially, when it comes to Neptune retrograde, and just the introspection, seeing past illusions, greater spiritual reflection there, spiritual examination, so to speak. So again, we want to think about this stuff in relation to those partnership areas of your life. And then we also have Uranus. So Uranus is on the move. Uranus will enter your 9th on the 7th of July. What I want you to remember here is this is just the first glimpse of Uranus being in your 9th. More to come throughout 2026. But Uranus essentially is going to welcome some breakthroughs and shakeups with relation to your self-beliefs, your teachings, what you broadcast, what you publish, your higher education there, the unexpected, being quite innovative when it comes to your higher education there. So Uranus could be quite exciting there in the 9th for you. And do keep in mind that with Jupiter already being in your ninth for that year in Gemini, there's already so much learning you've been doing, and you've been considering more so the understanding of information and your teachings. And you've also had the opportunity to uh, think about the bigger picture, right? So the bigger picture when it comes to your teachings and your higher education. So Uranus coming in could be this force of things being shaken up, and the unexpected indeed could happen. The unpredictable could happen. You just don't know what's around the corner really when it comes to Uranus, but I'm sure it's going to be exuberating, exciting, shocking, jarring, liberating, freeing, very, very interesting, Libra. Even think about this along the lines of advanced training that you're wanting to do. Think about this along the lines of long distance travel or legal issues, right? There could be some legal things that come up. There could be breakthroughs about legal matters and documentation there, Libra. So we also have Saturn turning retrograde from the 13th of July. Saturn retrograde will be from the 13th of July until the 27th of November. Of course, it will come back into Pisces, which we will get to. But basically, with Saturn retrograde, again, retrogrades, it's just a time to go over what has happened previously, or maybe paying attention to past patterns, especially with Saturn, thinking about reoccurring themes, reoccurring patterns there, especially when it comes to potential limitations or potential challenges, responsibilities within relationships. Take your time, especially with Saturn, just take your time, move slow, try and not make any big, massive life-changing decisions during a Saturn retrograde. And if you do, it's still about giving it a lot of thought, and also just remember to slow down. And if anything comes up about responsibility, it's a good time to take responsibility, to go, right, okay, well, I can see maybe where that other person is coming from, or I can see how this part of my shadow is holding me back here within my relationships, and how can I learn from those things, basically, right? Okay. And I do just want to further again say that this is an overview. I'm sure we will talk more about these areas closer to the time. Then we have Mercury retrograde, our second Mercury retrograde of the year. The Mercury retrograde will be in Leo in your 11th from the 18th of July until the 11th of August. So remember Mars, right? There was that part of Mars retrograde in your 11th, more at the very, very beginning of 2025, coming toward the end of 2024. So it's interesting to think, if you're watching it now, how that plays out. But anyway, think about then here how with Mars retrograde in your 11th, this is your opportunity to re-examine, to revisit your very actions when it comes to group participations, when it comes to your hopes and wishes for the future, how you stand out within a group there, thinking even about how children are a part of your future, just as an example, or thinking about how something creative, something performative or entertaining is a part of your future. So Mercury retrograde from the 18th of July until the 11th of August, basically it's more of a mental thing. But hey, it's also about certain pieces of information getting to you, documents. There could be delays, there could be mishaps there when it comes to a group situation, a team matter. It could be about institutions or organizations you work for. It could be some kind of team that you've already created. But basically, Mercury retrograde just says slow it down, revisit things, think about past ideas. You could re-examine past ideas, which could very well work a bit better. And you can just gain a lot of interesting insights from your ability to reflect there. Miscommunication naturally can happen during a Mercury retrograde. So just remember miscommunication within teams and groups. Okay, so then we come to August, and what do we have here? We have Mercury turning direct in August. So Mercury will turn direct in your 11th. And do remember the post-shadow period from the 11th of August until the 25th of August. And all I'm going to say about this is just mull things over, Libra, right? Anything that you revisited, that you looked at and addressed with relation to teamwork, larger networks, communities, friendships, groups, all the rest of it, just take that time. Take the post-shadow period as a way to mull things over, to see how things can integrate, what you've learned from the retrograde, and there could be some extra little tweaks and changes that you make along the way. So September, let's explore September. Well, we have Saturn retrograde coming into the 6th. So Saturn retrograde coming into the 6th from the 1st of September. And so it will be from the 1st of September until the 29th of November, this part of Saturn retrograde. This is going to be a much longer period of reflection and refinement when it comes to what you've been building, what you've been working on within this sector of your life that rules your daily routines, your habits, your health. Therefore, I think this section of Saturn retrograde will be where you truly look to lessons, life lessons, bigger life lessons here, Libra. And hopefully you can tie up some loose ends. Hopefully you can revisit a few matters when it comes to your working lives and your daily habits from a place of maturity and responsibility, especially emotional maturity, and with greater spiritual insights, greater spiritual awareness, because this is in Pisces. And do just remember that with this retrograde, it will be the final Saturn retrograde in Pisces for 30 years or so. So yeah, it will be your opportunity just to go back in one more time and to be honest with yourself. Okay, what's coming up? What have I not quite learned yet? And how can I maybe address those areas and think about my own responsibility there? But you could also look at it as some form of reviewing, revisiting successful times where you've done really well, how you've committed yourself, how you have been hardworking and really disciplined. You know, you've really dedicated yourself there to some sort of mission, so to speak. You've taken responsibility, you've done all the things. So it could also be a time where you honestly just go within and maybe show some form of perhaps appreciation for those instances, right? Some acknowledgement, perhaps some self-recognition, some self-respect, right? Okay, so Uranus retrograde will begin from the 6th of September coming into 2026. So that will be your opportunity to think more so about any changes that would have happened. You know, what glimpses of change will have taken place when it comes to your self-beliefs and your worldviews, when it comes to legal matters, when it comes to training and courses and programs, things like that. So Uranus retrograde could just be your opportunity to slow it down, have an honest review, and to appreciate things unexpectedly happening, but in a whole different way. And to go at a different pace, to go at a different speed, and to perhaps as well reflect upon older habits, older patterns, and then you can liberate yourself, right? You can break free. You can arrive to different conclusions, or it's that you'll be exploring older conclusions, older theories there with Uranus retrograde. Which, by the way, Uranus retrograde will come back into Taurus, which we will get to, but here we come to another eclipse season. So throughout September, we have the lunar eclipse happening in your 6th. So that will be your opportunity then, Libra, to shed old skin, to release when it basically comes to a health matter. Perhaps even a part of this is about your stress levels. Maybe even this is somehow tied. It's tied to the relationship you have with your pets, or there's something here about your the food that you eat, or how you look after your body, exercise. There could be some release, basically a reset, if you will, when it comes to these areas. It could also be something about a coworker experience, a coworker event that you want to change or that you want to let go of. And then also the lunar eclipse in Pisces will be on the 7th of September. And then on the 21st of September, we have here the solar eclipse happening in Virgo. So the solar eclipse happening in Virgo, that will more invite setting new intentions, right? New chapters to do with the likes of sleep, rest, to be able to properly recharge your batteries, so to speak. We also see this as some new health regime, a health routine. And again, we want to connect that with spirituality, with the 12th house being activated. This could also be a notable change to do with your dreams, or to do with your visions and your imagination. So maybe there's something crafty right there. And what I mean by this is with Virgo, Virgo is very good at using the hands. So maybe for you, Libra, there's an interesting thing that you want to do related to dream work or symbolism or mythology there, and maybe even healing there. So you can set new intentions based on a bit of a plan or a guide, or there's some form of structure present. Practical, right? You can make the spiritual practical, helping people apply the spiritual world into their everyday lives. So then we follow through here with October. We follow on. What is in store throughout October? Well, we have firstly Pluto turning direct. So Pluto will turn direct on the 13th of October in your fifth. So that will be a good time period to evolve, to think about, right, okay, wow, I've been addressing these particular shadows, or I've been facing these particular fears within my romantic relationships, or when it comes to my self-expression, or I have been addressing my ego in some way, shape, or form over the past few months. Now it's time to move forward, hopefully with greater empowerment and a step in the right direction here. And just remember, with Pluto, it is so slow moving, and maybe this is also where your personal planets are going to matter more, way more. Okay, then Neptune retrograde comes into the sixth, and that will be on, if I just look at my notes, Neptune retrograde comes into your sixth on the 22nd of October. So basically, kind of similar to what I was saying about Saturn, this will be the final retrograde in Pisces, and this one is going to be for a much longer period of time, because it takes Neptune about 160 years to travel through the entire zodiac. So use this section, okay? Use this final Neptune retrograde in Pisces to your benefit by truly taking the time to see through particular illusions, to practice self-forgiveness, self-compassion, to be very contemplative. You can maybe journal about your experiences over these past number of years with Neptune in your sixth. It could be quite a nostalgic, sentimental, therapeutic time period, right? There could be a lot that comes up. Maybe even, again, this is where dreams and synchronicities and paying attention to the signs can be useful. But basically, a lot of the Neptune retrograde is about inner guidance and spiritual exploration. So we come to November, and Uranus retrograde comes into the 8th. So basically, just another way to go back in, to maybe re-examine, to revisit what you might have missed when it comes to things like debt, repayments. We think about liabilities with the 8th house, especially considering it being the 8th house being ruled by Taurus for you, Libra. A lot of this is about possession, materials, ownership, physical security. So yes, Uranus retrograde once more. Okay, there's still this finalizing sort of element here, of course, because Uranus will go back into Gemini and it's another sort of goodbye. But basically, yes, go back into that of, okay, let me re-examine, let me revisit how things have changed for me when it comes to things like debts and shared resources, shared accounts, when it comes to also intimacy and just sharing in general. Maybe this has been quite the psychological journey for you, Libra. And honestly, it could feel like it's been quite a ride, right? It's been up and down, it's been very chaotic. There have been, yes, breakthroughs that have worked out in your favor, but there have also been shakeups that have been really overwhelming, overpowering, intense, really psychologically intense stuff coming up here. Again, we want to relate this to the likes of possession, ownership, but also, finances and your self-worth, even what you value. And we could also look at this through a lens of pleasure, pleasure and stability. Okay, the shakeups that have happened with relation to your stability over these past number of years. But basically, Uranus retrograde just invites another chance to go back in and to see what you might have missed before. So then we have also the final Mercury retrograde of the year, and it will start from Sagittarius. So the final retrograde, Mercury retrograde, will be from the 9th of November until the 29th of November. Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius will be from the 9th of November until the 18th of November. So that period, just once more, it's about, okay, what did I not learn here the first time around when it comes to my education? Or maybe how can I deepen and broaden my understanding here? Maybe it will be another opportunity for you to reflect upon older ideas, older visions, older aspirations. There could be some reoccurring patterns that come up, reoccurring themes. There could be some mishaps, miscommunication. Once more, we especially see this when it comes to vehicles, in your case, Libra, because the third house is activated. And then and also we can look at it through a lens of thinking more in the abstract, thinking more philosophical, right? So there could be some interesting older views that come up, older understandings that you revisit. Okay, so Mercury retrograde then will come into Scorpio from the 18th of November until the 29th of November. So this part of it, that will be more focused in on your personal values, your personal belongings, but there's still this, I would say, the sharing quality. Because Scorpio is a part of it, there's still maybe something about debt, repayments. Maybe there's something here about your security that comes up and how you combine that with someone else, how you share when it comes to a security matter. Perhaps this will be somehow related to some piece of information that needs to get back to you, some document, or this could be a way for you to re-examine or to revisit your skills and gifts, thinking about being a skillful communicator, especially communicating about deeper, darker subjects, or subjects that are maybe a bit more challenging to face and confront. So yes, there could be some interesting insights that come up, and it could be quite an analytical time as well. There's a lot of investigation that can happen with Mercury and Scorpio. So indeed, you could take a closer look at previous investigations, so to speak, previous research that you have done, and that could even assist you when it comes to possibly earning money. Okay, Then we have Jupiter turning retrograde from the 11th of... Oh, just one more thing, sorry. Remember the post-shadow period from... So the post-shadow period is from the 29th of November until the 16th of December. Just take your time, mull things over, Libra, with that post-shadow period. Then we have Jupiter retrograde happening in the 10th from the 11th of November coming into 2026. So with the Jupiter retrograde, basically it's about being able to think over what you have already learned. What bigger picture questions have you already addressed? Okay. And you can re-explore those questions, or you can think about your beliefs. You can think about how you will have grown within your professional lives by that point. Which opportunities by that point will have been presented to you. For instance, we'll just give an example, a small example. If it is, for instance, that you are wanted for a promotion, or there's some kind of level up, so to speak, within your field, maybe you could use the Jupiter retrograde as your opportunity to go over such growth, right? You can maybe start to question, okay, is this going to provide for my family? Is this really what I want? Will this bring me joy and happiness? Is this something that is secure for me? So there could just be some interesting questions that you come up with. But hey, this could also be about more so drawing from your inner wisdom, your inner guide, thinking about your moral compass as well. Again, a lot of Jupiter is about truth there. So yeah, there could be some interesting truths that you revisit, that you reflect upon. Just take that time to think about your personal growth, your personal journey up until that point. And naturally, this is about your personal growth when it comes to your vocation, your reputation, and what you want to be successful within. Okay, Saturn then. So Saturn is going to turn direct on the 27th of November. And then so from that point, basically, you will be able to move forward with a greater sense of, okay, yeah, all right, I've taken the time to consider my life lessons, how I've matured, how I've been responsible and been disciplined, how I've been committed and hardworking when it comes to my routines and my everyday practices, my rituals, my workload, thinking about your productivity levels there. You've done all that work. And so you can hopefully move forward with greater clarity, greater wisdom, and insight. Indeed, it could be a time of success, great reward, things coming to fruition in some way, shape, or form. But then again, there's still that post-shadow period with Saturn, so you're still invited to mull things over. December, right, so finishing up with December. And what do we have? We have Neptune also turning direct on the 10th of December. I like this for the end of 2025, honestly. It's just sort of like wrapping things up in many ways, especially within the Pisces house. So yes, with Neptune turning direct in your 6th house, that will also be a way for you to move forward after this period of, okay, well, I really need to face my fears, anything that is deceptive. Yes, so you can question the ways in which you have been deceived, even within coworker relationships, colleague relationships there. So basically, you can move forward with greater spiritual insight, spiritual wisdom. And perhaps too, a part of it will be about the healing that you've performed, right? Thinking about your health. We go back to how the 6th house rules health. So yes, there could be this forward motion to do with health related matters, and how you can take that time then to again integrate those lessons about healing. Okay, so everyone, Libra, this has been 2025 for you. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. And if you would like to book a reading with me, you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. If you did enjoy your horoscope for 2025 today, please make sure to give the video a like, and you can subscribe for more content from myself. Plus, you can always buy me a coffee there. That is just an option. There's never pressure to do anything. It's just what I offer, or the options that are available. Thank you again, Libra, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.